It's still loading up. Or at least I'm.
Hi, Anne.
Hello, good morning. Good afternoon. Hello.
Hey, Rafa.
How's everybody doing today? Yeah.
We were running late, so we're eating lunch.
Oh, I see. No worries. No worries.
It was either eat lunch in front of you or not eat.
Connecting through a different device and account. Anyway. So I'm the co-host.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hey, Julian.
Hi, Julian.
Hi, Julian.
Hello,
Hello.
Anne.
Nice to see you.
Hi, Refers. Yep.
Nice to
And
see you.
Peter and Carol. Catalina. Sorry. Yes.
Nearly gave me a heart attack, huh?
Yeah. Sorry.
So,
Okay. Right. Got it.
You thought there was another woman.
yeah, Peter haven't told me about it. He would tell me anything.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll tell you. We'll tell you.
I haven't met this
Okay.
girl.
yeah, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Hey,
Hi, Kelly.
Ellie.
Hey, Refers.
So,
Hi, Kelly.
Hey,
so how's it going, Kelly?
I'd like to say it's going well, but it's a slow trip.
Well, no worries. You'll get there eventually.
Yeah, I'm sure I will.
Yeah. Just it's good you can make it anyway. So we have Johnny joining as
It's
well.
good to see you anyway, Kelly.
Hello, Kelly. Nice to see you. Yeah. Hello, John.
Hi,
John.
good to be back.
Hello,
There
John.
you are, John. So let's see what's happened to Manu. Oh, Manu here. Speaking of the devil, here he is.
I didn't know Manu was the devil.
Well, it's a figure of speech.
No. You said the devil. And you were very exact with your word. Catholic Church has been blaming him for thousands of years. The perfect
Exactly.
scapegoat, so people don't take responsibility.
You reckon?
Yep.
Good morning,
Hello,
everybody.
Manu.
Hi, Manu.
Hi, Manu.
Yes, how are you? Are you driving on?
Yes, I am almost back.
Okay. Kelly, you look with a lot of energy this morning.
Well, looks can be deceptive.
Excellent. Excellent. Anyway, without further delays, I think we shall start. So, Rufus, how do you feel? What do you expect?
I feel great, actually. I'm glad I could make it today. I mean, after having missed last week's session, which I held went extremely well. So happy to be here. And what I expect is again to keep on learning and exploring what you prepared for today's session, Manu. So I'm happy to have Kelly on the call as well. Anyway, so Anne, how do you feel and what do you expect to get out today?
Hello, thank you, Refers. Okay, I am very thankful, definitely, to have Kelly back. And Kelly, we can see that, you know, it does take a lot of energy from you to stay with us, and we are so grateful that you're there. Yeah, so very happy to have you back with us. The other one is Steve. Last week's meet, he was talking about the three dualities. Life is about awareness, and then self is about otherness, and otherness is it's about somethingness. This week, we are dealing with a group of parents transferring from another school to ours. It's a whole group of them. And since we're talking about the universe, we just got word from some of the teachers who've been teaching the kids that, my goodness, the parents are putting their kids as the center of the universe, and nobody else can do it except them. And the kind of struggles they have the minute they're done with education. So that's what we're looking forward to work on some of these kids. They don't want to eat the food, and some of the teachers have to run out to the restaurants nearby to get them food. I think that's unacceptable, you know. Yep. So, but I'm very grateful for the discussions here. Over to Catalina. How do you feel, and what do you expect to take away today?
Thank you, Anne. I'm very pleased to be here. Very grateful for everyone to dedicate the time late Saturday night, Sunday, which is the day of rest, very early on Sundays. So it's always good to reconnect, and always very grateful that no matter how slow, healing still continues for Kelly. So we have the privilege of having him here. So I'm very looking forward to today's session when we exercise our curiosity and we learn and explore something else in this playground. And Pete, how do you feel? What do you want to take away?
Yeah, I'm feeling grateful too. I'm actually, one of the things I love about this call is whoever turns up. I mean, there's some weeks some people can't make it, whatever, but whoever turns up, I would dare say there are probably 100 things that we have different views on and different outlooks, but we meet in an energy of non-judgmentalness and openness and willing to explore and listen. And that doesn't mean that we change our opinions. It just means that it's a safe place to have that right. And in this Darwinian world that we are living in, where every day governments are taking away the right to say what you want and enforcing, you know, a one view world, I think that's a privilege that I value. What I'm looking forward to is the word that Kat said, curiosity. I find myself about an hour before the meeting. We were cleaning the house, rushing around trying to get things done, which is why we're eating lunch now, before the call. And while I was working away, I found myself curious as to what would emerge. So that's my feeling for today. John, in the lovely city of Perth, how are you, and what would you like to take away today?
I'm great and grateful. It is a beautiful part of the world, beautiful day. It's about 25 at the moment. I've been for a walk in Kings Park. Feel fantastic, feel fortunate, and great to be back. I've been away for a few weeks with various commitments, so good to be back. I have no doubt my brain will be stimulated more than it is normally. So looking forward to wrapping it around some new ideas and concepts. So that's how I'm feeling. And Julian, how are you feeling, and what do you hope to take out of today?
Thank you, Jan. Today I am feeling energized. I did something here is Saturday in late night. Here is about 10 p.m. So it's rare to have, for me at least, to have lots of energy at this hour, but I was just looking at some things that I got really excited about my career. So yeah, I arrived here with this call, expecting to have a way to gather all of the learnings we have been talking about recently. Like, I think all of this can have a way to work for us in our daily lives. So I expect that many of the things that we have been discussing can make more sense in our lives, in our careers, in our jobs, in our families, in our friends. So that's what I expect. I think who's left? Peter has already talked. No? Okay, Peter. So how do you feel today?
Kelly, put it on to Kelly.
It's Kelly. Okay. Okay, Kelly. So how do you feel today, and what do you expect from the call today?
I feel a little bit better today, which is good. What I want to get out of today is the curiosity and, you know, the discovery of whatever is there, because we always seem to find something. And whatever it is, you know, I just like to explore it. So that's how I feel, and that's what I take away. Manu, how do you feel, and what do you want to get out of today?
I feel grateful. I feel loved. I'm appreciative of the feedbacks and the contributions. What I expect that we move today from to is that we've already explored the otherness, the two-ness, the fourness. We landed on it, and Julian actually provided us last week where we want to go with question. Is that we need, knowing that there are thingnesses, we need to be able to describe those things. We need to have a way to look at their position and to look at their movement. And that's where we are going to go today. That's how I expect. Can I share my screen, please?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Manu.
Okay, I'm doing that, just that. What is this text now? Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
It's coming. It's coming. Okay. I can see it now.
Is it clear for everybody?
It's there.
Okay. Our expert reader, John. Will we
Yep.
let you? Okay. Right.
Ready? So reading weekend, Bucky called 2021-12-12. At minimum, life involves awareness, self involves otherness, and otherness involves somethingness. Awareness is of otherness, awareness of the outside superficiality of the observer's finger by the externality searching optical system of the observer, indeed the externality searching for the nipple of its mother's breast by the olfactorily guided external nose mouth of the newborn, constitutes initial otherness awareness. As a fertilized ovum of an integrally evolving female organism, umbilically circuited with the female organism, no otherness awareness is involved except that of the mother, even as she may be sensorially aware of a sore spot on her arm.
Okay.
Okay.
Comments and questions.
So we start becoming aware when we're born, and the first awareness is of our mother.
In reality, they've actually documented that we become aware in the womb.
Yeah.
And there are some people, I've met a few who quite vividly, without doing hypnosis or anything like that, just in normal consciousness, quite vividly actually have memories of their mother singing when they were making lunch or something, or some experience like that. They had the feelings and the sensations and could vividly describe it. So when that starts, I don't actually know.
I have kind of 2.2 or two areas here of interest that are quite outstanding. The first is the externally searching for the nipple. The word external. So there is the in of the newborn, and there's an out, the radiating external sensory, nose and mouth. They are externally, they are radiating already. That was the first one. And the second one is the last part of this paragraph, that is a fertilized ovum of an integrally evolving female organism, umbilical, circuited with a female organism. There is no otherness there. And is to the mother carrying the fertilized ovum. It's just like a sore spot on the arm. Everything is still one with the mother. But as soon as there is a me, there is a newborn, there is the otherness.
So your point, Manu, is that when the baby is born, that's when the baby is separated from the mother. And it relates to the otherness, being the mom and searching for the nipple to get nourished. That is the first experience of otherness. Before that, it's just one with the mother. I guess that's what you're trying to say, isn't it?
I don't know why this memory popped into my brain when you were talking, Manu, but about, I don't know, maybe 16, 17 years ago, I was on a property in New South Wales, and on this particular property, the creek meandered through it. It was a farm, and down the bottom corner of the paddock, there was this, and the guy who owned it and his wife, we were all walking, and you came into this sort of a glade beside the creek, and it was extremely peaceful and massive, big, overhanging trees that just encompassed, like, I don't know, a circle 50 meters wide of shade. And it was just literally, you could feel how peaceful it was. And the lady who owned the place said that for thousands of years, that was the space where all the Aboriginals in the area came to give birth. And it was a very honoured place. It was a very sacred place to all the tribes in the area. Because the Aborigines in Australia, they're very tribal, and it's quite common for Aboriginal tribes to fight with each other a lot. But that particular space was honoured by all of the tribes in the area. And I contrast that to the rather harsh and sterile environment of a hospital with bright fluorescent lights and lots of noise. And you know, the experience of a lot of mothers is that they don't necessarily feel anything other than a clog in the machine or a piece in the assembly line. They sort of rush through, and there isn't often there is, but there isn't often the level of sacredness and care and respect. And I can't help but wonder, in our humanity, are we in danger of losing some aspects of our humanity with the rush to, without concern to anything else, embrace technology? I'm not a Luddite. I'm not saying we shouldn't have technology. I think technology is wonderful, but I think there's an aspect of ourselves, our spirit, that sometimes our total embrace of technology is not particularly honouring of our spirit sometimes.
Okay.
I think that when he speaks, like the olfactory, that is a modality of each individual one. So that as we're going through, we're starting to see that we're building this person, you know, the nose. And what does the nose do? It smells. And so you're starting to get awareness there, but it's only the first awareness. Then you got the touch and all the other senses that we have, and that's perhaps where you get your 6 from.
Actually, I like Peter, what you shared. Yeah, you know, thinking about the whole experience in hospitals and all that, it's like it's sterile. And when you talk about, you know, the tribes having giving birth beneath the tree or around the tree, I mean, that's just absolutely beautiful. All I remembered was I wanted to slap the doctor for saying that I had a low threshold for pain, natural birth, you know. So that's the sum total of the experience. Yeah, something to share.
Yeah.
I think slapping a doctor in that circumstance is perfectly acceptable.
Actually, I remember, I mean, talking about childbirth and, you know, doing more naturally rather than in a hospital. Actually, both of my children, I mean, one was born in a hospital, but very much in a room rather than in what very much looks like a surgery room, which is, to me, is ridiculous. And no meds involved, nothing. I mean, it was natural. It was a lot of hard work to get ready and to actually give birth naturally, but it can be done, and it's a lot more rewarding. And even managing pain or the contractions become a lot easier when you understand how a mother's body works, and working with nature rather than against nature. It's fascinating. And but again, I can relate to the experience of the baby just being born and searching for a nipple, and that's the first thing they do when you actually bring children naturally. There's a book actually it's called Active Birth. If you want to study that book, it's brilliant. But anyway, it's all there. It's all built in. I mean, how the baby explores and touches, and like Kelly was saying, and smells, and moves naturally towards the breast. And that's and actually these trained midwives actually just wait for that moment for the child to make the connection, rather than take the baby away, wash it, clean it, put it in a separate ward, and well, which is still done in some hospitals. To me, all of that is crazy. It's just ignoring how nature works. And in fact, most children in the world are born naturally. Only a few actually are born in hospitals. If you analyze how we work as a tribe on the planet, anyway.
Anyway, I like now to take us into an experiment. Are we all ready for that?
Go ahead.
Okay. We have agreed in the past few weeks that the minimum system was a tetrahedron, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We are also agreed that we are part of the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine yourself in the tetrahedron. How many views of the outside do you need to have a complete sense of where you are, of your position?
Imagining we're inside the octahedron or the tetrahedron.
It's tetrahedron.
Tetrahedron. We are in a tetrahedron, in fact.
Yes.
Because I remember with murmuration, which explained Steve last time, it was like 6 directions outside, and that forms an octahedron. But I don't know if you mean we to position that inside that octahedron, or what do you mean exactly with positioning inside that tetrahedron?
What I mean, Julian, is we are a thingness. We're part of a system. The tetrahedron is a system.
Okay, as a system. Okay, got it.
Yes. We are in. How many views, how many shots do we need of outside to be entirely aware of our position?
At least 3.
4.
Yes. 4, I think so too. You have 4 windows, which are the 4 faces.
The 4 faces of the tetrahedron, yes.
So we
I
have,
assume that one of the sides we would be standing on would be on the ground.
Yeah, but you
I don't know if I'm standing, I'm just in.
Oh, I
Yes.
And I want to know where I am, my position in that space. So I look, the otherness, I look out in 4, through 4 windows, 4 faces.
Yes.
That's what I imagine the best for me to understand what dimension is. When you talk about the dimension of a system. The octahedron, the tetrahedron is a 4-dimensional system. Does it make sense? Any comments, contributions, or dismissal of that idea?
Yeah, actually, the thing that comes to mind in my case is that I pretty much believe in the sensation of being spherical, because when you're spherical, I mean, you are actually, you position yourself in every possible direction from the center, that is. And again, the sphere can be contained in a tetrahedron.
Julian?
I actually was thinking that in order to be aware of my position or where I am, I was thinking that I will have to be able to see, to use my eyes to see what are the things above me, my sides, below me. And if, for instance, I were in a closed room with no windows, I wouldn't be aware in what part of the world I would be. So in that sense, I will have to use other things to understand what is outside that room. But if I have, like you said, like, suppose I might, when you were talking, I was imagining myself inside a pyramid, but instead of a square, I was in a triangle. Okay, so I have 4 faces or 4 windows through which I can look outside. But I see more as Rafael was talking about the spherical sense, because it's easier, you know, like you can point, if I have to point something outside me with my finger, it's easier if I point it if I'm thinking it in a spherical way. But thinking about a tetrahedral way, it's like only 4 directions. So, okay, these are only 4, and it seems strange. I will maybe it will be easier with the octahedron, as Steve showed us, because it's 1 pointing upside, 1 pointing downside, the 4 directions outside, and that would be maybe more intuitive for me. I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yes. Further comment? Tell me, another question I have for you. How do you anchor the notion of north, south, east, west. How do you anchor that? You use it, right?
How do you anchor? What is that word? Again?
Okay. If I gave you your coordinates in terms of north, south, east, west, you know exactly where you are in the spherical system, isn't it?
Yes.
Right.
Why
Right.
do you need 4 instead of 3?
No, because why do you need 4 instead of 3?
Mm.
Actually, it's a good point, because again, for navigation purposes, you need three points of reference. But again, you are the fourth element. I guess you yourself or the plane is the fourth element.
Yeah, but if you were in a plane surface, like, you will need always to know where you are going to move forward, backward, from one side or the other side. So in this case, if you want to move in this plane and also in this plane, so you will need two tetrahedrons. But Manu is talking about, okay, if, for instance, you look into a map. A map is in a piece of paper, so you only need the 4 to find the point in that map.
No, I mean, what I mean here is that we all been on the experience of being on board an aircraft on a flight.
Yes.
How do we know where we are? If the aircraft, there were no pilot, you're not communicating with anybody, how will you know? And we say here that that aircraft is a tetrahedron. It has 4 windows.
Mm-hmm.
If you give me these 4 windows, like this image that I'm showing, the 4 windows, I will be able to know where I am, because I can see through the windows, or I can have, if I was given 4 shots, I will have the shot from each of the windows, and there will be mark on the boundaries of the windows. And I will be able to see window 1, window 2. The boundary between window 1 and window 2 will appear to be the same on 2 shots. So I will be able to see that that is the edge in the folding of 2 planes there. I will be able to put together my tetrahedron to deconstruct and to reconstruct. With that insight from inside there, I can fully describe my universe, my position in that universe.
That actually only works though if you've got sight of external things. If you're in cloud cover, or you can't see the stars, or you can't see the land, or there's no landmarks you can discern, then I'm not sure that statement holds.
No, we say we have 4 windows. So we
Yeah, you have
always,
4
Yeah, but in
windows.
relation
Always
to
order-
what?
But if I've been in plenty of planes where you can't see 10 feet because you're in the middle of a cloud.
Yeah.
And so you need an external line of sight to an external something for you to be able to discern where you are in relation to anything.
I agree with you completely.
It's actually interesting also because the US Navy 3 or 4 years ago created a fund to teach all of their senior captains on their various ships how to actually use sextants to navigate, because for the last 30 years they've been only using digital navigation. And someone actually pointed out to them that if your digital system's down, you're screwed, and your $100 trillion warship can't go anywhere. And they'd missed that one. And the other thing about the north, south, east, and west, just a fun trivia fact, the word news in English actually means everything known from the north, the east, the west, and the south.
Very
Put it
interesting.
together as news. So
First time I'm hearing that. That's interesting. Really, news. Okay. Cool. Yeah. But this is, I think that we can we stop the experiment now and continue? We will come back. Right? It was just to introduce the notion of dimension, which is intrinsically linked to the number of ways you can look around you to determine your position. Is linked to position. Dimension is linked to position. Now, let's continue, John, please.
Certainly. Summary.
Okay, go ahead.
There are 6.
Let me just position it for you, please. Okay.
Summary. There are 6 basic motions in universe. All of them are positive and negative, active and passive. The first 5 are individually experienceable and popularly familiar. The last, precession, is less popularly familiar. Spin. Spinning is horizontal or vertical axial rotation. Spinability has to be totally independent of the system's local surface transformations. Orbit. No path of travel may be 180-degree linear in a multi-bodied, gravity-cohered, omni-motional universe. The initial reality of all travel is orbital as a composite resultant of all tensive restraints. As the sun's pull on the Earth produces orbiting, orbiting electrons produce directional field pulls. As 99.99% of the bodies in motion in physical universe are operating orbitally, orbiting must be thought of as normal. Spinning and orbiting together is dancing. Orbits are regenerative feedback circuits.
Cool.
Question.
Yeah, please. On this.
So we are spinning and orbiting.
So initially we realized, we were aware of the otherness. We realized that the actual fact is not the otherness, it's otherness of otherness, is a duality of duality, there's a fourness. So we determine where we are. Now we are moving, inherently moving. We are no static thingness in our universe. Everything is moving. So how are we moving? And the first 2 that Bucky described are spinning and orbiting. And he used 2 words there that are 2 expressions that are very important. He says spinning is independent of the local surface transformation. And he says orbiting is feedback circuit. Questions and comments about that? Comment to help understand this. Regenerative feedback circuits.
So, Manu, the thing that gets me is that your tetrahedron is 1, but I think you have to combine it with another tetrahedron in the bow tie. That's
Yes.
where this bow tie comes in, and that will equal 1. I don't see how you can do it with 4.
Forward.
Sorry?
Forward, please.
Well, you're saying that 4, or a tetrahedron, which is 4, that's it. But when you look at it, you're looking at a double tetrahedron, or you know, you're sort of building like that. And so it leads me to believe that we'd have to be a minimum of 8. And that would make sense, because then you have a dual.
We are in the structure.
Yeah.
The tetrahedron is a minimum structure.
Yes.
So we are into it.
Yeah.
So if we are the basic tetrahedron, yes, our relationship with the otherness in is like you showed. So how do I entirely or totally describe my relationship with that otherness?
Well, I'm thinking that you have to have a dual.
Yes.
So 4 would not get it done.
No, I haven't said that it's 4. We are saying we know that the universe, the one original,
Yeah.
is a fourness.
Yeah.
Is a tetrahedron. And our experiment is us being in that furnace. So we are already in there, us and the otherness within the original furnace.
But your original question was, how many do you need?
How do you, my original question is like this one. If I'm in a tetrahedron, how many ways, or like how many shots from inside of a tetrahedron will I need to completely describe my position in that tetrahedron, where I am?
Well, I think it's 8.
Yes. It is open, eh? That's why I'm saying, you know, my view is open to be invalidated.
But you know what? Do you remember that Bucky has a geometric figure? I don't know. I don't remember the name, but it's kind of a sphere made up of many triangles. How is that called? Well,
Geodesic dome.
Yeah.
which one?
The geodesic dome.
That one. Geodesic dome. Yeah. So I think what Kelly is saying is that if we use a double tetrahedron, it's because we have joined two different tetrahedrons, right? A double tetrahedron, just like Raffers is showing us. So if we keep adding tetrahedrons, eventually we will get a geodesic dome. Like we will have this big sphere where we can have all of these faces. But if we try to keep reducing them, we eventually get to 1, as Manu is saying. So if I only have three shots or three windows, I will have an incomplete vision of my exteriority or my things outside. But if I have 4, I have the minimum system in which I have all of the faces. Does this make sense?
It all makes sense, but let me reformulate here. I'm mandated by God to create a universe.
Raphael, can you hold up what you had there.
Yeah, let me just put it together again. Almost ready. No, hold on a second. Let me just do it again.
Can I repeat my question here? My comment here? Or Kelly, would you like Rafael
This
to
is
go
what I
there?
was showing.
Yeah,
See,
and look at that.
that's and this is the bow tie.
Yeah, it's actually 7. It shows the efficiency of universe.
Yeah.
Remember that is now what Rafael is showing is in motion.
Yeah.
And my question related to this one. I'm mandated by a higher order to create a universe. And I can only have pictures or planes. How many do I need to create entirely that universe?
It depends on how many dimensions are you able to perceive.
I say the minimum universe, what is really at my level. It was
Then
4.
again, it depends on how many dimensions, because in a 2-dimension plane, you only need 2, in a 3-dimension, you need 3, in 4-dimension, you need 4.
No, I cannot create a universe in 2 dimensions.
No, you can't.
I
No,
won't
you
be able to
cannot. But if you don't know the universe is more than 2 or 3, you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't, unless that you really know that you're the one that knows everything, you need to know how many dimensions that are there to create the universe.
Okay, let me put it this way.
4 ones are the only ones, just because I don't perceive any other more than that.
Let me put it this way. If I give 4 shots to babies, I give them 4 triangles. Will they be able to build a tetrahedron? They don't know what I want. I just give it to them.
That's
And the
that's
4,
what they perceive.
yes. And I build the 4 in such a way that they can come together in 2s. Will they be able to do it? My answer is yes. They will try, but they will build it. You'll find it. You put 5 kids in a room, you give them that stuff, and you go away, you come back, you'll find it.
Kelly, are you saying 8 because of Inside Out?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're not yet there. We are still into building our house. Now, how our house relates to others is different.
Yeah, but Manu, when you say in actual fact, John, it's 7 because of the economy of synergetics. So you can see that there's 7 steel balls, 7 points of reference. Yes. And when you look at it and you think, when you're looking at it, you start to think like you get one tetrahedron and you're inside it. But that to me is there's no awareness. It's just I'm there. And then the awareness comes with the going out to the second tetrahedron.
I agree with you. The awareness comes with relations, with how you move. But there is a structure. What is the dimension of the structure? That's the question. What is the dimension of a tetrahedron? It is a structure of different dimensions. What is the dimension of a tetrahedron? It's 4.
Yes.
That's all I wanted.
Yeah, but when you're looking at it, I think that it's quite, you have to see the out. So I'm there, I'm in there. I get that I'm in the tetrahedron.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do I get out? Otherwise,
You get
there's
that
no-
through seeing out through windows. Imagine your mind goes through windows.
yes, my mind goes through windows.
Yes.
So I see that, and then I say to myself, well, the interrelatedness of it does not seem to be the same as if it's 8 or 7.
Yes.
That's my only comment, is that life begins with awareness,
Yes.
and awareness is 2 tetrahedrons.
Yes.
One
Yes.
is in and one is out.
Yes.
It's also very hard. I might be being obtruse and going down the wrong path here, but it's very hard to only consider 4 viewpoints, because at a inner self awareness, we actually need the outer to have that inner awareness. And I think that also applies to the science. I think that's why from one view, you could say you only need four triangles to look through. And from another, you could say you need 7. But I think there's another view there that we're not considering, which is that in our sight and in our hearing, we have a very, very limited range of frequencies that we can actually perceive on the scale. Like the scale of frequencies is that, and we can only perceive this. And you know, if you're thinking 2-dimensionally, you'll only see 2. If you're thinking 4-dimensionally, you'll see 4. I think the challenge with this question for me is the context, because if there's 8 or 10 of us here on the call, there's 8 or 10 different contexts, and none of them are incorrect and none of them are correct. It's just purely a contextual thing.
Perception.
But
Just because we live in a 4-dimensional place, with everything mostly will be seen that is actually 4. But what happens if we actually get aware of more than 4? What do we actually, when we expand in a way that we actually see that there's more than 4? If we see it from a perhaps, I can't really prove this or say anything, but if we perceive for something that more than a 4-dimensional space, perhaps we would say that it's more, but because our generality of our perception is a 4 dimensions, well, we say that is 4.
we all agree to that, and we you know, I'm really quite happy that we're discussing this, because if you look at the context through which physics evolved, we've been talking all the time about 3 dimension, and we're locked into it. And when it was necessary that, you know, it wasn't like that 3 dimension, we tried to invoke a 4th, invoking time, which is not a dimension. Time is not about topology of a space. And that has created untold confusion in terms of understanding of the physical descriptions of the world. And that was one thing that Einstein said. And that's why he said space-time, because it was so hard for him to express in a way that is understandable the fact that time is not a dimension.
And is
Time
there
is
a dimension?
No, it's not. It's a frequency. Time is a lack, is a repeat, is a lack of repeat of experiment, of things, of experiences. It's not a dimension. And I'm really, if we have clarity on that, to me, is very, very important. It is not. And Bucky, I don't know where I cannot exhibit it. He said it 100 times through his writing. Time is not a dimension.
Yes.
So when I see what Carolina was explaining earlier about trying to see everything from the 2 dimension. So what do you think when you think of a 4th dimension? So if it's not time, if it's not gravity, what are you thinking when a 4th dimension comes into play?
Now, what I was thinking is that, and Bucky say it, thingnesses are structures, right? Minimum thingness is a 4 dimension. And thingness inherently are always in relation. Life starts with awareness of the otherness. So I'm 4, the otherness is 4, is a minimum of 8, as Kelly said. That's what it is.
Yeah, and he does actually say it's an 8-dimensional world.
That is what? 8-dimensional world, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You remember what the eight dimensions are, Kelly?
I've been studying for so long, Peter, I'd have to go back to it, but I just take it for granted that it's 8.
Yeah, it is. It is like this. It is, and it transpires in many things that you remember the formula n times n minus 1 divided by 2, or the Euler formula. The two that you have there is the pole. Everything that is in motion needs some poles that are stationary, let's say fixed, to allow the system to be in motion. So you have the 6 ways to move of a system plus those 2 that are held static. That is the 8.
Quite
Does it make sense? Does it make sense to you? So if I build as a whatever system that you build, for it to move, you need an axis, you need poles that are in relationship to that system, pretty stationary. And then you have those fixed. That is a -2 that you always take out of Euler's formula. And the remainder, when you add then the 6 plus 2, it gives you the 8. So the minimum dimension of a space in motion, of structures in motion, is 8. Is 2 tetrahedra. And this is it is very insidious, but it leads a lot into confusion in the future if it's not clarified early enough in the discussion. That is my humble. You really need to have a grasp of what a dimension is and what degrees of freedom is, and that the 2 always work together in a world that is in motion. The 2 are needed for you to understand what is going on.
Would you say that that statement is absolute?
Pardon?
Would you say that that statement is absolute?
Well, so far, I would say that Euler formula has not been contradicted. Number of vertices plus number of faces minus number of edges is 2. Even in generalized terms, it has held. So is a principle that has held, or a law, I don't know what, that has held until now. Maybe it's going to be debunked in the future, but up till now, all our experience and all what we can imagine, it still holds.
I don't have a brain that I can argue to the validity of it. I'm just not. I'm not clear how to bring that into benefit of our day-to-day life.
Well, when you look at the benefit of your day-to-day life, you know that there has to be a double tetrahedron, and you have to look for the double tetrahedron.
You know, I got that part, but I didn't get the what Manu was saying about the vectors and the other bits.
Okay. Every system has vertexes because it's a polyhedra. They are polyhedra. They have vertexes, which are those first. Let's just say a system of ours now in this discussion. We are vertices of a system. John, Kelly, myself, Catalina, yourself, we are the vertices. We are constituting a system that we are interacting as a system. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of that form their faces. And the minimum faces, every time that you have a closure between, let's just say, Julian, Catalina, and John, that is a triangle. So you have that those triangles, which are, yes, those triangles are forming what we see of our structure.
That's what
And
Julian
that
had in the email the other day.
Yes, if you link that, whatever, at any time that you took the time, you take a snapshot of this system at all times, you will find that the number of triangles, which are the faces, plus the number of the people, the participant in the system, which are the vertexes, minus the number of edges, which are the relationship, how will I call it? The folding, where one triangle and the other relate in terms of thing, it is always equal to. And that two, I will kind of link it to the direction towards which we want to evolve. What do we want to understand? It needs everything in motion. You need to hold two edges for us to make sense of the remainder. You need that. So the two, you always have a pole around which there's rotation or whatever, or orbiting, parts are orbiting and doing things. There's got to be something. That's why you have, for example, the magnetic pole, the magnetic axis of the Earth that is in movement in our space. That one is fixed. I mean, in our understanding, it evolved. It evolved. The angle in relationship to the geographic changes in eons, but for our purpose, it's always there. It's fixed. That's why we call about our North Pole or our Northern Star. It's always there. You tell me how you navigate without the Northern Star.
Well, you can't, as we understand it, but the challenge in that comes to mind, Manu, is, and again, I have not the brain that can explain the science in this, but the North Pole and the South Pole have actually shifted numerous times over the last many millions of years. And I don't know how regularly they shift, but they shift. And there are whole scientists who spend their life studying the hows and whys of that. So in our era, we can fix on the North Pole, but in, I don't know, 5,000 years, 10,000 years, whatever it is, the North Pole, because it shifts, it tilts on the axis of the Earth every now and then.
I agree with you.
And I don't know the science of that.
But
you know, all what comes to mind was two things. Julian's very entertaining diagrams the other day of the levels of complexity as you add every staff member. You know, and I thought that was brilliant, or every team member. And the other thing that comes to mind is it comes back to if I'm on a ship and I know where the North Star is, I could probably figure out how to get to Australia or how to get to South America or New Zealand or wherever it is I wanted to go. But I actually have to have a goal to go to be able to use the knowledge of whether it's the North Pole or the North Star or whatever other external thing that I can use. And what I can see at a human level in this is that humans have desires, and those desires create intentions. And, you know, some of those intentions are good, bad, and ugly, but unless we're motivated by a desire, we tend not to, we tend to fall into drifting. And I don't know if this is correct on what you're saying, but from what I took of what you were talking about, the vectors and the external triangles and all that, I kind of understood some of it, but what I actually understood was in interacting with humans, like Anne at her school has got a group of new parents who are, from what I could understood, demanding that teachers go out to a restaurant to feed their children. And that's an impractical, unworkable desire, but that's still a vector that they have to deal with. And getting people to act in harmony is one of the hardest roles on the planet, I think, because I don't know, we're all stubborn little buggers.
Peter, I entirely agree with you. But let's look, you said there a lot of very, very interesting things. The first thing is this one. The magnetic axis of our planet evolve, changes. But do you know the consequences that there have been every time that is changed significantly?
Yeah, it creates a bit of havoc.
Yeah, no, the fact that we are here now as Homo sapiens is a direct consequence on one of those things. Let me repeat again. It's because there was some significant changes in those referential of our planet that we had glaciation in geology, and that there was a climatic change that made the dinosaurs disappear and favor the emergence of mammals. That is fine. So to me, there is a scale of things, right? So the environment in which we are conscious has not always been the same environment. And if it changes, we'll lose that consciousness because we won't be there too. So there is something in a neon that is held pretty constant for us to make sense of the remaining parts that are moving. It is, and this is pretty fundamental. That is in the reduction, in a reduced world, the meaning of a two. Otherwise, it's just a mathematical formula. In terms of application, the two means the poles that are stationary, that you always talk in relationship to of a part moving. There's always that two in a geometry of a system. So if we assume that that is constant, and our experience to now has been that it is constant in our world of awareness, then we can understand. It's assuming that the North Star holds, that you know how to go to Australia from wherever you are on a boat, on any sea, on this planet Earth. It is because you assume if it had changed, you will never reach Australia. If it had changed, you will never reach Australia. And that is very important. The symbiosis of position and movement together to understand the whole. The two are always moving. And there are famous formula in mathematics or attempts. And people have, I'm sure you heard about Pauli and his exclusion, or Heisenberg uncertainty. It were attempts to try to kind of determine completely something that is emotion that they couldn't. So they had to form, to put together principles that allow us to understand, given that we are in the system. It is very important in my opinion. Okay, could we maybe come back to the degree and then understand this? We were discussing before Kelly came back on this discussion, the spin and the orbit, in terms of description of the minimum 6 degrees of freedom that are necessary to determine the trajectory of any thingness, any body in our universe. If we are clear about the spin and the orbit, I think John can progress into inside out and the other things. Are we ready for that? Or are there more comments, questions?
No.
Okay, let's put.
So we're going to give up our dancing and move on to inside out.
Yes.
Anything with a hole in it turns inside out. The tetrahedron turns inside out through any of its 4 space window faces. Kissing humans turn partially inside out as they pucker their lips. Expansion, contraction. Expansion is radiant divergence and contraction is gravitational convergence. Expansion, contraction. Expansion is radiant divergence and contraction is gravitational convergence. We've just got it repeated.
Yes.
Talk.
Good. Can we
stop there? Okay.
Yes. Just to the inside out and expansion contraction.
Yep.
Comments, clarifications, questions.
I find it interesting with expansion contraction. There's the definition that Bucky's used there, and that's a rather scientific definition. But within our lives, expansion and contraction has a totally different meaning. We have times in our life where we're expanding and things are growing, and then we have other times where we're contracted and we might be fearful or depressed or whatever. And the guy who wrote Power versus Force book talks about power and talks about expansion contraction as the natural rhythm of both emotions in the universe. The universe has times of expansion and has times of contraction, and it's interesting that our universe, we have a belief at the moment that the universe is going to continually expand forever, and that belief, by the way, has been adopted by the people who control the economics, because they believe that the real estate inflation can continue forever and the stock market inflation continue forever, and they can continue to pump out money. They can print trillions of dollars every day because it's just going to continue to expand. But my view, if something expands, it will contract. It may not be in our lifetime, as Kat said. But the expansion contraction side of things, coming back to an even more basic level of what is life, if our lungs do not expand and contract, life ends. So to me, the rhythms of expansion and contraction are actually part of every part of life. Economic, health, whatever.
150% of what you say. And Steve is not here. He usually talk about fractals. You know, we tend to kind of repeat things. And if we don't think holy, we are doomed. We have that ability. The mind had the ability to think holy. When I say holy, WHOLLY. To think that there is going to be expansion and contract, but there will be contraction, or the two will be interplaying simultaneously to keep the system in how do you call it? Bucky has a whole tensegrity.
Right.
So,
As you were saying that, Manu, just to add a bit of humour to the situation, our dog is sitting 5 or 10 feet behind us, and she just farted, and the level of oxygen in our universe contracted. We were in pressure of possibly dying in suffocating circumstances. Anyway, it amused me.
So the consequences in mathematics, they say, if you have small things and you add them, you keep on adding them. And it makes me think about what Kelly usually talk about the critical mass. They will add, you'll be insensitive to them for a while, but by the time they come, they can wipe you out. If you didn't think about that, those little things are happening. And that's the world, the reality of the world we live in today. We're doing a lot of things and neglecting the feedback circuit. We don't measure them. We're not even aware that they exist, but it will be wiped out. And another thing here that I like in Kelly in Bucky's presentation is that he always presents one with a dancing partner, inside out, expansion, contraction, right? Spin, orbit. There's always that presentation that make you have really, to me, the feel, the physical feel of what we're talking about. Any more questions? Any more comments? Okay, let's progress then, John.
Okay. Torque and counter-torque are local twists in which one pole spins right and the other pole spins left. Precession. Precession is the effect of bodies in motion on other bodies in motion in interrelationship patterns of other than 180 degrees. Reactions and resultants are precessional, bringing about orbits and not straight lines. For instance, the effect of the sun travelling around our galaxy centre at 700,000 miles per hour upon the Earth co-travelling with the sun, the precessional effect of gravity between the two is an effect at 90 degrees to the sun pull, which makes the Earth both spin and orbit around the sun.
Cool. Question, comment? Let me share this one first. You all heard about the grasshoppers in the Sahara causing tornadoes in the US. Have you heard about that?
No.
They are beating, you know, there's mass migration of insects happening in the Sahara. And the direct effect of it, precessionally, is in North America in the form of something like Katrina or some event that is devastating. Have you heard of that?
Is the well-known butterfly effect?
Yes. The butterfly effect is the stuff. But how the hell something happening somewhere in the Sahara in Africa, going across the Sahara itself, which is huge, is the largest desert in the world, over the North Atlantic, and have its effect on the in the Midwest of the US.
That there's a different example I could use of that. That's a human one. You know, whenever it was 60 years ago, or whenever Rosa Parks on a bus was told to get up off out of the seat, she just said no. And the processional effect of that decision is still in effect today. Because in effect today, there are people who are saying no to whatever form of dictatorship is being presented to them. And, you know, I'm sure she didn't sit when she said no. I'm sure she didn't think about the processional effect 60 or 70 years later. She was just tired and said no. You know, and there are lots of, I could give you another 1,000 examples of human decisions that have had a processional effect, whether it's years later or centuries later.
Yeah.
So
she had no relationship to Dr. King. It just happened that Dr. King was in Montgomery, and she was in what is the name of the city? And that, you know, he heard about it, and the other leaders heard about it. And it was something that had progressed really well in the American systems. And it ignited the whole stuff of the civil right. So to me, these have really, I wouldn't call application yet in terms of design, but it really helped an understanding of how the systems within our universe, how they function, how they relate, and what might happen.
I think relevant to our times, one of the processional effects that's interesting for us to live in is there's a theory called the 7 stages of empire, and all empires through recorded history have gone through the 7 stages of empire, and it's fascinating. There's books written on it that you can study, but it's an expansion and then it's a contraction. In the expansion period, in the beginning of the expansion, there's an expansion of freedom, and from that freedom gives birth to prosperity, and that prosperity gives birth to greater prosperity. And then at some point in the process, some little group of idiots decide to take control and try and dictate to everyone. And the processional effect of that is those empires always fall. The processional effect of freedom is prosperity. The processional effect of slavery or dictatorship is the decline of empires. And it's amazing to me and sad that every civilization that we have in the world today that 100 years ago was expansive and freedom embracing is today dictatorial, censorship, control, and everyone just floats along like there's no processional effect of that. And the truth is, at an energy level, you must have freedom to have prosperity. And we processionally are obligated to our future children, grandchildren, whoever, to maintain freedom if we want them to not be enslaved. And I might be totally insane and that might be wrong, but I every day I look at the world and go, can't people see the processional effect of embracing dictators and allowing idiots to make decisions that are immoral and corrupt and just turning a blind eye? So for me, procession effect, I have a love-hate relationship with precession, because precession's like gravity. It always wins. It just happens, yeah. Anyway, off track, I suppose.
Why? John, can we just read these two paragraphs and then we stop there?
Yes, just 1
Just
second.
repeat, I think it's repeat that is interesting.
Basic motions and degrees of freedom. There are 6 positive and 6 negative exercises of the motion freedoms. But the freedoms themselves come from the fact that the minimum structural system in universe consists of 6 vectors. The tetrahedron. The tetrahedron has a minimum of 6 edges. The tetrahedron is a 4-fold symmetry. As the minimum something, it has 4 faces of symmetry and 4 vertexes of symmetry and 6 edge vectors, providing the minimum degrees of freedom. Any one face has 3 edges, and a total of 6 edge vectors in the structure defines the set of events. With every turn to play in universe, we always get 6 moves. So the minimum something is the minimum play. Do you want me to keep going?
Let's just read that one.
Okay.
And we stop there.
Yeah, the minimum 6 vectors can be, should that be, inter-arrayed at all kinds of angles, providing they all add to 720 degrees. The variable interangling provides the degrees of freedom. We find in topology that all minimum systems have vertexes, faces, and edges, and that the number of edges in universe is always evenly divisible by 6. These are the 6 active and passive degrees of freedom, and they are always there. They do not operate in a plane. They are omnidirectionally interarranged.
Cool. Let's comment.
I think the 720 degrees is the important part.
Yeah, it's what you showed, Kelly.
Yeah, 720 is 2 tetrahedrons.
Yes.
2 spheres. And you can gather as much information as you want, but I think that it's starting to change with the stuff that's going on in the world today, where you're starting to see everywhere kids building, their empires. They're plotting out empires in games. And when you look at the games that they're playing, it's because they got no other game in town. They don't have the work, they don't have the stuff, and we haven't allowed for that. And so when you look at UBI, Universal Basic Income, you see that it has a place, and eventually it's going to take its place because we don't need as many workers as what they say we do. And and without the structure of the worker, you have a problem. Without really education and stuff like that, there's not a lot, there won't be a lot left that we'll need to do, because it'll all be automated. And when it becomes automated, then where do you go?
You mean, how do you use your time and talents?
Well, John, I don't know, because, really when you see it, you see you see your time and your talent is being eroded by automation. And so when we look at it, we're going back to the age of nature. And then as we look at the age of nature, we start to get to abundance, I think, because it is abundant instead of what we have today.
I think it's important to link abundance to effectiveness. What I mean by abundance is in a world of minimum waste, is in a world of knowing where waste goes to, is in a world where the distributive circuits and who and how they touch is accountable. How would I say it? Not only accountable, but is fair. That's when you have abundance. Abundance is not hoarding the gains of productivity, the gains of innovation, the gains of technology into building new superheroes, new empires, new to something that are basically taking the world back to where it was. I mean, there's no difference between what we call the titans of today and Jensen Kang. What's the difference?
What do you mean the titans of today?
Well, whoever that is, like, taking everything to build, I don't want to talk about my compatriot, but, taking everything to go and build life on Mars, for example. I mean, you know who I'm talking about, what it is. Yes, it's interesting, but it doesn't change the world, the reality world that we live.
The world's going to change because it has to change.
Exactly.
Not because of economy. So when you think about it, we know that there's things that have to happen, and who knows, it might just be the cycle of the planet. But right now we're trying to discover what that is. And technology is good enough that if we turn our mind from weapons to livery, we'll probably find UBI will take off all over the world because they will pay people not to work. That's the next stage.
Okay. All right. Any more comments?
No.
Raffles, you are mute. You are muted. We can't hear you.
Okay, now you can hear me. Okay. No, to me, actually, abundance relates to ephemeralization. That is, we do ever more with ever less.
Yes.
So we come to that point, and actually, we can do everything with nothing. And that's a next change. And that to me makes absolute sense that we will pay people not to work because there won't be enough work effectively as things, because all these ephemeralization processes will get more done with no human effort involved. So it will have to happen. Otherwise, you will have a lot of people starving because you need to work to get paid. So rather than having turmoil and rebellions, you might as well pay people again to stay at home and do other stuff. Go read, study, research, explore, the things you enjoy in life, and we pay you to do that. I mean, to make this absolute sense. I mean, as if we can foresee that level of development. And I remember a few years ago, the whole concept of universal basic income was impossible. People thought it was a stupid idea, but now people are actually taking it more and more seriously. So we don't know exactly what shape the future will take, but definitely that's one way to look at the world, at the brave new world that's coming.
Okay. All right. I'm happy that we all understand very much what the 6 degrees of freedom mean. That they are in there, they will always be there, because as long as there is motion, there is movement, and there are things in the universe. What we discussed, unfortunately, Rafael wasn't there, but to propose that next week we had a kind of feedback session.
Next week, I think Manu, that traditionally we have a recess
Yes.
from
Yeah.
next week.
Yes.
So
Next week,
we don't have next week. So traditionally we shut down and we get back up in the second week in January.
In January, yes.
Okay. We had discussed, I mean, we had seen a little bit different. We're proposing that next week we have a feedback session, and then we have that recess after that until mid-January. But
no, there's too.
I won't be here.
Can't be here next week.
Yeah.
There's too much. People are too busy right now. They've got shopping or doing whatever. It's not going to get less, or it's going to get more. So I suggest that we from next week, which is traditional, 1 week out, or even nearly 10 days out, that we recess and we start again in January, the second Sunday in January.
Yeah.
so there's no session on the 19th, right? That's what we say.
Yes,
Correct.
that's the idea, yes.
Okay.
That we've done traditionally, yes.
And then we reconvene on the 15th
Second Sunday of January.
Yeah, that is the 16th.
Yes.
No, it'd be the 9th.
By 9.
No, but if you really want to back, it would be the 9th or the 15th. Then we have to choose.
Which,
Because
Kelly?
the first one is the first.
Well, the second Sunday is the 9th.
Yes. So is it the 9th?
The
Yes.
9th. Yes, the 9th of January.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. With that, John, how do you feel? What do you take away?
Very grateful that I made it this week. Good to be back, having the brain provoked by Bucky thought. So yes, lots of thoughts about inside and out and around and dancing and pole dancing and all sorts of things. Yes, I'm very glad to be here, a small but select group, and I wish you all the very best for Christmas and New Year, and I shall look forward to seeing you all in January. Manu, what do you take out of today?
I really feel good. I'm relieved that we have kind of reached this point. I'm grateful for all the participations and all the contributions. And it was kind of tough time, but the spirit was there, the act was there, and the presence of those that had to be present was there. And I think that I've learned a lot, I've received a lot. I hope I've also given. And that's what I like carried into next year as we explore more and we get closer to our artifact. That was what we planned to do over time. So that's how I feel. I wish Kelly a really nice rest, prompt full recovery. I would like to see you leading again when we start next year. So Julian, how do you feel? What do you take away?
Okay, thank you, man. Well, yeah, similar to you, I feel thankful for being able to participate today. I think this is inspiring, you know, the conversation that we had today, like, it will be inspiring for us into doing the things that Peter was doing. Like, okay, if we have this knowledge now, how can we look into our outside, into our families, into our relationships, and to figure out how this works. And I think that, yeah, we can, what I take away is that we can start adding these sort of layers of complexity, like starting at the minimum. It's okay, like we can understand how things work in that way. But I also think that here Bucky is inviting us to look outside as well as inside of us, you know, like if we want to have a life, we have to be aware. If we are not aware of what is outside of us, like it is killing ourselves inside, you know, like someone who loses his life is someone who is not more anywhere aware of what is around him. So I think all of these things can be like, so sometimes very physical, and we still have to figure out if this can be also emotional, or if this can be something with our sensorial, with so for instance, how our sensors are being, how our senses are being guided by the spinning and the orbit and the inside out and the expansion and the contraction. So I think we have so much to figure out still. So I am taking that out with me today. And thank you for Manu, because your explanation was really helpful during the conversation today. So Robbers, how do you feel today, and what do you take away?
I feel great. I mean, great call. I mean, today I found a great connection between 6 degrees of freedom and the fact that we have 6 different motions and how they relate as well. So that was actually a great new learning from me today. And also, I'm very grateful for Julian actually sharing those graphs on relationships, and how after a number of relationships you get a mandala. I mean, that to me was mind expansion. So very grateful for that as well. So so it's great when we see these applications and the geometry and how it all comes into how we relate to how we perceive universe. And again, 6 degrees vectors, it all relates to, you know, special thinking or geometrical thinking. So I'm very much looking forward to the holidays. I mean, great holidays to you all, however and whatever you celebrate around this time of year. So I very much look forward to coming together again on the 9th of January 2022 to carry on exploring and learning. And as Peter was saying, I'm sure there are lots of things we disagree about, but I think we agree on the fundamentals, which is what happens to us as a species, what our role is in the universe, and how we all make a difference rather than follow the crazy flow we see in these crazy current times. And so again, very grateful. And Kelly, again, I wish you to carry on recovering. Slowly but surely you get there. So, and hopefully you'll be leading again soon. But when you're ready, don't rush it. Take it easy, which is difficult for you. I know it goes against your character to take things easy, but at least have a go, see how it goes. So that's how I feel, and that's my takeaway. So Anne, how about you? How do you feel, and what do you take away?
Thank you, Raffles. Yeah, I've got two big things here for me. One is, when Peter, you talked about the 7 stages of an empire, right? So our little empire in Malaysia with our previous prime minister, now his father was our second prime minister. So he's the son. And so when he became a prime minister, it's like literally you're passing to the next generation, right? And they were actually hoping for a third one, which is his cousin, who is also one of the ministers, but they're all under the same family and so on. So we were really literally, we got really horrified when we heard about that. And because of that control over money, well, good news is that he's been convicted to 12 years sentence, yeah? And we're looking at it, the hope is that it will be upheld because the conviction, the whole process of the whole legal process is now being viewed across the world, and everybody said he did the right thing, on point. So, but there's the appeals going on, so we hope that the appeal won't work because with the world watching right now. Okay, so that is that little empire that was about to be set up, and you're right, it was growing and growing and growing, and then because a few tried to control, and we shrank. We're not sure if we can recover because we've just given the government back to the previous one. It's taken a lot out of our country. Yeah, so that's number one. The second one I really want to share is this. I just got the big, realization as to what we should do with education, and that's it looks like we have to prep the kids to be prepared to have no work. Okay, and when I really look at it, it's already happening, right? Because we have been working for the past 20 over years, and we realize it's getting them ready for their future that's uncertain and constantly changing, right? So we were clear about that. But now I realize that we have to prepare them to have no work. So what do we replace that with? Because right now, people are being paid to play, right? All the top gamers in the world, they're paid to play. They're not paid to work. Paid to work, they're paid to play. Paid to play football, paid to dance, right? So we really have to figure, which is what we're doing. Our school, one of our schools in Petaling Jaya, is going to be an esports school. We're teaching the kids everything related to esports, from streaming, live streaming, to playing games, to the whole business of esports. Yeah, but I can see that that we have to be even more mindful and prepare them for a future where they don't work, but they spend the time making the world a better place. So, yep, I'm going to have to get my team cracking on that one. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody. That's what I took away. So amazing realizations there. And back to you, Catalina. Yes. How do you feel, and what is your takeaway?
Thank you, Anne. Well, in all honesty, I actually feel tired. Had a late night and just don't do well with late nights and then having to get up very early. But as always, it's very interesting conversation. It's the people and the diverse perspectives and the diverse understanding and the different degrees of understanding make a rich conversation, and that's what makes us nature what it is, rich in diversity and rich in understanding and the multi-level of it. So it's always enriching and enjoying the expression of nature and experience in itself, just as it is. Because at the end of the day, we in nature as well. So wishing everyone a wonderful time over the holidays, wherever you are, with whoever you choose to consider your family. A very blessed time, and for anyone who, as here in our group, but also collectively in the world, needs healing. So healing takes time and takes patience, but with relaxation, enjoyment, and love, we get there. So with that in mind, Peter, how do you feel and what you take away?
Thank you, Kat. I'm feeling pretty good. What I'm very present to at the moment is, with respect to this group, Kelly and Raffas and Manu and a couple of people who aren't here today, I think you guys have been doing this for 30 years. And the level of discipline, the level of commitment, the level of intentionality that's within that is amazing. And I know people have come and gone, in the time I've been here, but I think what this group does, I know what this group does, is we go to study some of the most obtruse stuff that Bucky's ever written, that my poor brain just hurts when I encounter some of it. And then in the midst of that, we delve into how humanity can work, how we can actually make a world that works for everyone, which I think was Bucky's biggest thing. And we consciously and unconsciously, collectively, I feel we have an intention to create a regenerative world free of the Malthusian bullshit and scarcity, and a natural abundance for everyone. And, Anne, when you said that it's likely your kids won't be working, but they could be working on making the world better. Wow, was that powerful? And wow, is that in contrast to their parents' thing that they've got to be a doctor or a lawyer or an ace student? And is that an example of the micro context and the macro context? So I'm encouraged by this group, and again, for me, a lot of what Bucky does is just obtruse, but I'm amazed that every time we visit that stuff that I think is obtruse, I come away with some spark of curiosity of how we can make the world better, and also somehow it lands that I don't necessarily intellectually understand it, but I understand it in my heart. So that's kind of weird and good. Kelly, how do you feel? And what did you take away today, mate?
Well, I mean, most of it went over my head again. I'm just finding it hard to keep things in my brain at the same time. And I thought I got a little bit better. And I think the real big takeaway is that we've got to look at the inside and the outside. And it's only going to grow. And I think we're going to discover that everything that we thought wasn't there was already there. So that we discover it as technology goes, we start to see it. And eventually we'll get to a boundary of something. And so let's hope that it happens sooner than later. Also, I want to thank everyone for being on the call. I want to really get into it next year, where we get back onto design and into the design principles that Fuller laid out. And I think we can get there. I think the constant looking at Fuller the way that, that we don't have to, but we just read his words. And I think whatever comes out from us, which is very important, because then we're truly ourselves. And that's all I ever want, is that people are courteous. They can disagree all they want. And I think this group does that. And it's a pleasure being on the call. So thank you. And we'll see you back on the 9th. Bye-bye. And
Bye, everybody.
we're
Have a
4 minutes
fantastic,
early. Oh,
fantastic.
man.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. For
You
all
too.
celebrate
Thank
the end
you.
of the
Bye,
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you.
Thank you. Merry
May
Christmas.
your radiance touch a lot of lives during this season. All right.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The
Thank
spirit
you.
is- Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.